여러분, 안녕하세요. Hi, everybody. Please let me know if you guys can hear me. 안녕하세요, 젠님. You're the first one to join the class. 어서 오세요. So I'll give you guys some time to come in before we start the class. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? See the screen okay? 대체님, 안녕하세요. 수업에 와주셔서 감사합니다. 타니카님, 안녕하세요. 타니카님, by the way, I deleted my chess account because I was too addicted to Blitz game that I ended up playing games till like 4 a.m. in the morning, and I thought it was just too serious, so I just decided to stay away from chess for a while. But yeah, that's what happened. 잘 들려요? 키스님도 안녕하세요. I see a lot of familiar usernames. Okay. Today we're gonna learn about 샬라님 안녕하세요. I remember you from the comment section. You commented something about my books. I appreciate that very much. Okay. I give you guys more time to come in. 진짜요? 네. I'll let you guys know when I do come back to chess, but for a while, I do think I need to stay away from it. New book, 맞아요. So I'll explain more about the book at the end of the class, guys. For now, let's focus on the actual content that we're learning. 그렇죠. All right. Okay, 여러분, 그러면 I feel like, okay, we have like 33 people joining. I think that's probably enough people for us to get started, right? Okay, so today we are going to learn about Korean verbs. And last week I did the first live class of Korean grammar for absolute beginners. So it'll be easier for you guys to follow along this class if you watch that one first before this lesson. But if you happen to join this live without watching the previous one, then you can stay here. But I do recommend watching the first live afterward. And if you're watching this as a playback, I suggest checking out the lesson 1 of Korean grammar for absolute beginners, which was done last week first before continuing with this lesson. So today we'll learn mainly about Korean verbs. And last time we learned what a verb is, right? Verb is something that represents an action that someone or something does. And before we dive into verbs and practice using them in sentences, let's first learn about 존댓말 and 반말, 여러분. So there are two main types of Korean speech. One is 존댓말, the polite language or polite speech, and 반말, the casual language or casual speech. And I'll just read out loud what's written in my book, guys. So 존댓말 literally means treat with respect speech, and it's referred to in English as either a polite language or formal language, and it's used when speaking to anyone you want to be polite and show respect to. And when meeting someone for the first time, it's customary to start the conversation in 존댓말. And 반말 literally means half speech, which means that it is not a fully formal language, and it's referred to in English as either a casual language or informal language, and it's mainly used with people who you're close to, such as your family members, friends, or even someone who's much younger than you, like a little kid. So when you meet Korean people or visit Korea, you'll notice, or you yourself will also get to use 존댓말 much more often than 반말, because in real life, there are usually more people we're not very close to than people that we are close to. So especially among adults, it's considered not just polite but natural to use 존댓말 when there's some distance in the relationship. And if you use 반말 with someone that you're not close to or like haven't agreed to speak casually with, it can sound a bit strange. Like people might think like, oh, what's up with this person, right? Of course, if a non-native speaker does it, then Koreans might just assume that this person doesn't know about the speech levels yet, but still, 존댓말 is the form that, sounds most natural and appropriate in many situations. So you'll end up using it much more often. So that's why in this book, or in this class, 잠깐만요, what's wrong with my... Okay, there you go. Where was I? So that's why in this book, we'll focus mainly on 존댓말, though I'll mention 반말 a few times as well for comparison. So as for the differences between 존댓말 and 반말 in like grammatical form, so they're mainly distinguished by the sentence ending that is used. So there are two major 존댓말 polite language endings. One is 요 and another one is 비읍습니다. And 비읍습니다 form is slightly more advanced. So today we'll focus on 요. So last time, we learned that the predicate part always comes at the end of a sentence, right? So for example, sentences like 저는 일해요. This means I work. And sentences like 엄마가 바빠요. Mom is busy. And let's I'll give you guys two more sentences. 저는 고양이를 좋아해요. I like cats. And one more example sentence. 고양이는 cat, 생선, fish, 생선을 먹어요. And this means cats eat fish. So the predicate part, either a verb, so this is a verb. This part, guys, this part is the predicate part, either a verb or adjective, right? So predicate part comes at the end of a sentence. So naturally, sentence ending, this 요 sentence ending naturally gets attached to the predicate. So if we break down these underlined parts, it's actually verb, 일해 is the verb, and 요 is the sentence ending. 바빠 is the adjective, 요 is the sentence ending. 좋아해 is the verb, 요 is the sentence ending. 먹어 is a verb, and 요 is a sentence ending. So that's how the sentence ending works. It gets attached to the predicate part, either a verb or adjective. That's at the end of the sentence. And if you remove 요, you just say 나는 일해, or 엄마가 바빠. 나는 고양이를 좋아해. 고양이는 생선을 먹어. So without 요, guys, just without 요, it becomes 반말. So from this, you can kind of know that in 반말, there's no special sentence ending for 반말. You simply end the sentence with the verb or adjective alone without the ending, and that itself is 반말. So as you can see, 반말 is relatively easy to learn because you don't have to use like a separate ending for it, right? So that's also one of the reasons why we'll focus on 존댓말. 존댓말, because it can be a bit more, challenging or complicated. Not very, very much complicated, but still. If you are done with 존댓말, like if you get comfortable with 존댓말, then naturally you will also get comfortable with 반말 as well. So that's why, guys. That's why. All right. 그리고 I forgot to mention one more thing, guys. So when so most sentences, whether it's 반말 or 존댓말, can be, you can tell whether something is a 반말 or 존댓말 by looking at the sentence ending, right? But there are some words that are different, like some nouns that are different in the 존댓말 and 반말. So for example, 저 means I, right? And this is only used in 존댓말, the polite language. And 저 in 반말 the word has to be changed to 나, I. So it sounds awkward to use 저 when you're speaking in 반말, and vice versa as well. It sounds very awkward to use 나 when you're speaking in 존댓말. So that's actually pretty much all the thing you need to know about 존댓말 and 반말 at this stage, guys, at this stage. So before we move on to the actual verbs, let's do a very simple practice first. Very simple practice. So all of the sentences below mean I learn Korean, and check whether each sentence is 반말, casual, or 존댓말, polite. 여러분, what do you think this sentence is? Is it 반말 or 존댓말? There are two clues. First of all, 나 is I in 반말, right? So immediately we know that it's not 존댓말, it's 반말. And also another hint is that there is no sentence ending. The verb alone is used without any sentence ending. So that's why it's 반말. 맞아요, 여러분. 반말이에요. How about 여러분, the second one? Second one, also we have two clues. First one, 저 is used, I in 존댓말, right? And 배워, the predicate part, is attached. Like there's a combination of the verb and the sentence ending 요, which means that this is indeed 존댓말. And so that's how you can distinguish it. And I briefly mentioned another polite ending, 비읍습니다, slightly more advanced, and we're going to learn it another time. But this sentence ending also indicates that this is 존댓말. So that's how you can distinguish the two. And now we're going to move on to 20 workbook. Oh, actually, let's move to workbook. All right, so let's learn about the verbs, guys. Verbs. Before we dive into like all the conjugation rules and how to use them in sentences, there are some essentials that we need to note of how Korean verbs work. This is very essential. This knowledge is actually pretty, it's going to be really helpful and become the foundation of everything else that we're going to learn today. So all Korean verbs have a base form, guys, and it's also called a dictionary form, because when you look up a word in a dictionary, when you look up a verb in a dictionary, always it's written in its base form. So that's why it's also called a dictionary form, but most Korean teachers go with base form. So base form, all base form, as you can see, end with 다. They all end with 다, and the syllables right before 다, all the syllables right before 다, like 가, right, or 가르치, or 공부하, 기다리, 끝내, not, not. So all these syllables before 다 are called the stem. So the verb 살다 stem would be 살, 가다 stem would be 가, 먹다 stem would be 먹, and 마시다 stem is 마시. And it's important to know what the stem is because base forms themselves are not used in the actual sentences. They are just a dictionary form. They're just the root of how they expand, but they're not used as it is. They must be either conjugated, which we're going to learn the rules about, or it can be combined with a certain ending or suffix, but it cannot be used as it is. And how a verb is conjugated depends on its stem, more specifically what letter the stem ends with. So it's very important to understand what the stem is, and there are many rules regarding conjugation rules, how a verb is conjugated. So mainly, there are two rules, mainly. One is regular, and another is irregular. But irregular rules are more complex. So in this class, guys, we're going to focus on the regular rules. So let's move on to our main book to practice conjugation in all present, past, and future. Today in this class, we will learn how to conjugate verbs in all three tenses: present, past, and future. So first, we're going to start off with the present tense. And before we learn the actual rules, I think it would be very helpful to go over the uses of the present tense verbs, what meaning it conveys. So the first one, there are mainly four uses of present tense verb. First one, it's used to express an action that is currently taking place. It's obvious, right? Because it's the present tense verb, so it expresses something that's happening right now, something that someone does right now. So 저는 공부해요 means I study, as in I'm studying right now. And also, it's also used to indicate what is generally the case or someone or something's usual tendency. So if you say 고양이는 cat, 생선, fish, 먹어요, eat. So forgot to mention, all these verbs are conjugated in present tense, guys. But anyways, this sentence can mean the cat is eating fish right now, but it also means cats' general tendency is to eat fish. Like, it's their general habit. It's their dietary habit, right? 고양이는 생선을 먹어요. And it's also used in imperative sentences, meaning commands, suggestions, and even let statements. So it's the same in English, guys. When you want to tell someone to do something, usually the present tense verb, not usually, all the time, present tense verb is used, right? Same in Korean. If you say 문 닫아, you're telling the other person to close the door. So 문 닫아, or 같이 means together, 가다 means to go. So 같이 가요 would mean let's go together. So just the present tense alone can also convey that imperative meaning. And the last one, it can sometimes express what you plan to do in the future. But for this case, for this to actually work, there has to be a future time point in a sentence for the present tense to mean something that you'll do in the future. Otherwise, it just means that's what you're doing right now. Okay, so with that, I don't really like the automatic zoom in and zoom out function that my camera is doing right now. Okay, but never mind. Let's actually get into the conjugation rules, guys. Conjugation rules. Like I said, guys, conjugation rules vary depending on the form of the verb stem, more specifically or more accurately, what letter the stem ends with. So first, we're going to look at the cases where a stem ends with a final consonant. So there are two cases mainly, when a stem ends with a final consonant or when a stem ends with a vowel. And of course, there are some more rules in that category alone. But let's first start with when a stem ends with a final consonant. So, guys, if the last letter of the verb stem ends with a final consonant and the preceding, so they ended with a final consonant, and the preceding vowel, the vowel in that last character is either a or u, how you can conjugate it is by adding a after the stem. So for example, guys, all these verbs have 받침, right? They all have 받침, and they also have, in the last character of the stem, they have either a or o vowel, right? So for these kinds of verbs, how you can conjugate it is by adding a to the stem. So 알다, which means to know, which is a verb, a base form verb that means to know. 알다 would be conjugated to 알아. So this would mean know in present tense. 살다, stem plus 살아. This is the present tense conjugation of 살다. 받다 becomes 받아. 닫다 becomes 닫아. This would be close. Actually, let's write the meaning for every present tense verb. 앉다 becomes 앉아 in present tense. 녹다, 녹아, melt. 놀다, 놀아, play. So that's how you can conjugate these kinds of verbs. So let's try practicing using them in actual sentences, 여러분. Actual sentences. So you want to say, I know teacher Vicky. So in this sentence, Vicky 선생님을 blank. The subject I is omitted, right? Because usually it's when you're talking about like your case, it's usually obvious that the subject is I. So it's very common to omit I in the subject. And Vicky 선생님 is the one being known. And the last part would be the predicate, the verb. So, actually, I should cover, let me cover the answer. Okay, so, how would you say, I know teacher Vicky? Which verb form, which verb form would you use to fill in the blank? Vicky 선생님을 By the way, guys, 알다 is the base form. So how would you use it in an actual present tense sentence? 그렇죠. 알아요. 좋아요. 알아요. Like I mentioned, guys, at the beginning, 알아 is the verb and 요 is the sentence ending that makes the entire sentence polite speech, right? So 비키 선생님을 알아요. 그리고 how about 친구, friend, 한국에 in Korea lives. So, what word? How would you conjugate the word 살다 in this blank to express my friend lives in Korea? It would be 살아요. 그렇죠. 살아 plus 요. 그다음에 let's do one more, guys. Let's do one more. 친구들 means friends. 친구들하고 with my friends blank hang out. How would you say hang out in this sentence, guys? Hang out. 친구들하고 그렇죠. 놀아. 그렇죠. 놀다. Conjugated in present tense. 놀아요. 친구들하고 놀아요 would mean I hang out with my friends. 좋아요. So that's rule number 1, adding a to the stem for these kinds of verbs. And for other verbs that end with a final consonant, but this time the preceding vowel is anything other than a or o. So I only have 4 examples in this book, but it can also be other verbs other than these 4. So any other vowels that is not a or o, then you can conjugate it by adding a to the stem. A to the stem. So, for example, guys, these kinds of verbs end with 받침, and their preceding vowel is anything other than a or o. They're not a or o, right? 어, 이, 여, 우, 울, and also 만들다 as well. 만들다. Let me add 만들다 here as well. 만들다 means to be big. 만들다. Not to be big. To make, not 크다. And as you can see, it ends with 받침 and the preceding vowel is right? So automatically this would be conjugated as 만들어. So each of them are conjugated. 먹다, 먹어. 입다, 입어, wear. 읽다, 읽어, read. 열다, 열어, open. 웃다, 웃어. It could 웃다 could mean smile or laugh. So that's how you can conjugate these kinds of verbs. So 여러분, let's practice using them in actual sentences. 매일, every day, 한국 음식, Korean food, eat. So how would you complete this sentence, 여러분? How would you complete this sentence? Actually, let me bring a bigger sort of piece of paper to cover it properly. 잠깐만요. Please give me a sec, guys. Let's use this note. Alright, so you would say 그렇죠. 먹어요. 한국 음식을 먹어요. It's in present tense, so 먹어요. How about 제 여동생, my female younger sibling, so it's younger sister. My younger sister 매일, every day. 바지 means pants. 바지 wear. So how would you say, or how would you complete this sentence, guys? Just in case you forgot, 입다. 입다 is a verb that means to wear, put on, outfit. So it would be 그렇죠. 입어요. 좋아요. 그 다음에 you want to say 책을, books, 많이, a lot, read. How would you say read, guys, in this sentence? How would you fill in the blank? 읽다 is a base form that means to read. So in present tense conjugation, you would say 읽어요, right? 읽어요. 좋아요. Let's do one more, 여러분. Let's do one more. Let's do 반말, meaning you don't have to add 요, right? You can just remove you and just put the verb conjugation alone. So how would you tell someone to open the door? 열다 means to open. So how would you tell someone open the door? We learned that present tense conjugation can be used in imperative sentences, right? So how would you fill in the blank? 그렇죠. 문 열어. Hey, open the door. 이런 뜻이에요. So that's how you can conjugate a stem that ends with a final consonant. There are only two rules. Either you add a or o. So that's pretty simple. And now we're moving on to the second case where a stem ends with a vowel, not a final consonant, but a vowel. And there are actually many rules for it. So the first one, I really hate the auto. Can you zoom it in? All right. I'm not the one doing the zooming in and out thing, guys. It's automatic and I just don't really like it because I feel like I have less control over my camera. But anyways, guys, if a verb stem ends in the vowel a, 여러분, the vowel a, how you can conjugate it is just using the stem alone. And here's an additional explanation that might be helpful, guys. So I mentioned earlier that so never mind this. So we learned that when a stem ends with a final consonant and then there's either a or o, you add a, right? Actually, it's the same with this case. Since the vowel is a, you actually add a to conjugate it. But so for verbs like this, guys, 가다, 만나다, 사다, 자다, they end with the vowel a, right? But what happens when you put a after the a ending stem is that it's phonetically redundant. 가아, 만나아, 사아, 자아. It sounds very redundant and almost unnecessary. So the Korean linguists maybe in the past decided that we don't need to do this. It's phonetically redundant, so just use the stem as it is. Just shorten it. 가아 to just 가, 만나아 to just 만나, 사아 to just 사, 자아 to just 자. So for a ending vowels, guys, you just use the stem as it is, and that's the present tense conjugation of those kinds of verbs. So let's quickly move on to the verbs. The actual sentences, guys. So you want to say 평일 means weekdays, not weekend, weekdays. 평일에, on weekdays. 학교에, to school, go. How would you say go? How would you fill in the blank, guys, with the verb go? 그렇죠. 가요. Just the stem is its present tense conjugation. How about so 평일 means weekdays and 주말 means weekend, guys. So 주말에, on the weekend, 친구 means friend and meet. How would you fill in the blank with the verb meet? 그렇죠. 만나. 주말에 친구를 만나요. I meet my friend on the weekend. 좋아요. 그다음에 let's do the one more. Number 4. 엄마, mom. 엄마는 일찍 is an adverb that means early. 일찍 sleep. How would you fill in the blank with the verb sleep? 그렇죠. 자요. 엄마는 일찍 자요. That's how you can say mom sleeps early. So this is pretty simple, right? And we're going to move on to another verb stem type, which is if a verb stem ends in either 어, 여, or 에, you can conjugate the verb using just the stem without needing to add anything. And this one also makes sense, guys. We learned earlier if the stem has a or ya, so anything other than a or o vowel, we add a, right? And same with here. You add a. But likewise with ka, a, manna, a being phonetically redundant, this is also phonetically redundant because a has the same sound, and ya sound is basically e sound, like E sound combined with O sound, right? So it naturally has that O sound as well. So saying yo O is also phonetically redundant. And A O, to me, it doesn't sound phonetically redundant, but maybe Korean linguists thought this is phonetically redundant too. So that's why when conjugating these types, these types of stem, you just use the stem as it is without having to add any other syllable. So 서다, 켜다, 보내다, they all end with 어, 여, 에. For these kinds of verbs, you just use the stem to conjugate it. So 서다, 서 would mean stand, present tense. 켜다, 켜, turn on, like turn the light on. 보내다, 보내. It can mean to send something, or it also means to spend not money or things, but only time. So it has two meanings, either send or spend. But in this book, we'll focus on the meaning of send because that's the most basic meaning. All right. So let's practice using them in actual sentences, guys. Actual sentences. So this time in 반말, the casual speech, how would you say turn on the light? Turn on the light. Just in case you forgot, 켜다 means to turn on, guys. 켜다. So how would you say turn on the light? 타니카님, illustration 진짜 귀엽네요. 그쵸? I really like the illustrator that I worked with for this book. I really appreciate her very much. She's very talented, but I agree. It's so cute. Like, look at this woman watching a movie with her feet on the table. This is so relatable and so cute. But anyways, 그렇죠. 불 켜. 그렇죠. Turn on the light. 그다음에 how about stand here? So 여기 means here. How would you tell someone to stand here? 서다 means to stand. So how would you say stand here? Atagonim, is this book for sale? Yeah, this is the main book that was published a while ago. So yes, it is available both naturally, both in Korea and internationally. But I'll explain more about the books at the end of the class. Let's just focus on the content, what we're learning. 그렇죠. 서가 맞아요. 여기 서. 그 다음에 last one, guys. 선생님께, to the teacher, 편지. Sorry, so this is actually a typo that so mistakes like small mistakes like this happen in the publishing and editing process. But 편지 actually means letter, guys. Letter. Email is email. But 편지 means letter, guys. So you want to say I send a letter to the teacher. So 선생님께 letter를 blank. How would you say send? Send. Just in case you forgot how to say send, to send is 보내다, 보내다. So how would you conjugate it in present tense, 여러분? 그렇죠. 보내요, 보내요, 보내요. 좋아요. Okay, so that's how you can conjugate these types of verbs. Just use the stem. And moving on to the next type of stem. If a stem ends with 오, 여러분, like we learned, guys, if the vowel is either a or 오, we add a, right? So same with this one, we add a, but saying 우아, 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 우아 is very, inconvenient. So it would be a lot, it makes phonetically to just combine 오 and ah sound and create the wa sound. So that's why how u ending stems are conjugated is by replacing u with wa. I say replace, but it actually goes through this process, the shortening process of u and ah, right? Contraction process. So that's why that's how it ends up becoming wa. So that means to come, and how you can conjugate it is by adding ah. But instead of saying 우아, 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 if spoken fast, it's 와, right? So 오다 becomes 와 in present tense conjugation. 보다 means to see or to watch. So 오 gets replaced with 와, right? So 봐, 부아, 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 봐 is the ultimate, it's the present tense conjugation. 봐. All right, so how would you say it's raining? Literally, we say the rain comes. The rain comes. So how would you say it's raining? How would you say come in present tense here? 그렇죠. 와요, right? 와요. How about 한국 드라마를 watch? Korean drama, I watch. How would you say watch in present tense? Watch. This time, 보다, 보아. 그렇죠. 봐요. You could say 봐요 for I watch Korean dramas. So 한국 드라마를 봐요 is how you can say this. 좋아요. 그 다음에 let's move on to another type of verb. Another type of stem. So if the stem ends with 우, since this is a vowel that is not a or 오, right? So you add 어. And this one as well. Instead of saying 우어, we combine these two vowel sound and say 워. So that's the final conjugation, present tense conjugation form of 우 ending verbs, 워. For example, 배우다, 주다, 치우다, they all end with 우 vowel, right? And these are all conjugated by replacing 우 with 워. So 배워, 배워, learn. 주어, give. 치워, right? So, to 치워 means to clean. So, that's how you can conjugate it. That's how you can conjugate 우 ending verbs. So, 여러분, how would you say I learn Korean? 저는 I, 한국어, Korean as in the Korean language. And how would you fill in the blank with the verb learn? Learn. How would you fill in the blank to say I learn Korean? It's 배워, 배워, right? 저는 한국어를 배워요. So instead of using the stem, right? We have to conjugate it. Conjugate this into present tense, which would be 배워. And how about 매일, every day. 방 means room. Every day, room. Clean up. How would you say clean up? How would you use the verb to clean up in this sentence, 여러분? Sakura-님, what is the difference between 한국어 and 한국말? They mean the exact same thing. They both mean Korean language. So you can say, 저는 한국말을 배워요. That's fine. Both make sense. Both are common. And 그렇죠, 여러분. 치워요가 되겠죠? Clean is 치우다 is to clean. So you would say 매일 방을 치워요. 치워워워. 좋아요. 그다음에 is this the last one? Actually, it's last one in this group. When a stem ends only with a vowel, this is the last group in that category. So, the last type of verb, if the verb ends with E, the E vowel, likewise, we add the syllable O, right? And instead of saying E, O, we combine them. Yo. If spoken fast, they become yo. They produce yo sound, which makes sense, right? So that's why the conjugation form is you can replace E to yo. So 마시다, which means to drink, is conjugated in present tense. 마셔, drink. And 가르치다 becomes 가르쳐. 가르치다 becomes 가르쳐. Teach. 그래서 how would you say then, 여러분? How would you say? 아침에 in the morning, coffee, drink. How would you say drink? How would you fill in the blank with the verb drink, guys? Drink. Not 마시요. It has to be conjugated. 마셔요. 그렇죠. 마셔요. 좋아요. How about 비키 선생님, teacher Vicky, 한국어, Korean, teach. How would you say teach? How would you use the verb teach in this sentence, in this context? 가르쳐. So you can say 가르쳐요. Teacher Vicky teaches Korean. So we have learned a lot of conjugation rules so far, but if you think of it in terms of like phonetics, then it all makes sense. Just remember first, and then the rest will come naturally. Or as in if the vowel is or o, you add a. If the vowel is anything other than a or o, and then you add And the rest of the rules make sense if you follow that. 그다음에 the last group, guys. It's the 하다 ending verbs. There are so many 하다 ending verbs in Korean. So actually, we have learned from these example sentences alone, there are already 2 하다 ending verbs. So 일해요, 좋아해요, they all come from All right, so let me just write down. Actually, you know what? Let's just use the verbs that are already written here. 여러분, so all of them, all 하다 ending verbs, there are 하다 ending verbs, right? So 하다 actually means to do. 하다 itself means to do. And 하다, even though it ends with it doesn't follow this rule, guys. It doesn't follow this rule where you just use the stem alone. 하다 is considered a different type of verb, and they are conjugated to 해. And following that, without exception, all 하다 ending verbs are conjugated to 해. 공부하다 means to study, 공부해. 운전하다 means to drive, 운전해, present tense drive, present tense study for 공부해. And 운동하다 means to exercise or work out. So 운동해 is exercise or work out. 일하다, work, 일해. 일하다, to work. 일해 is the present tense conjugation of 일하다. 좋아하다, to like. 좋아해, like. So that's pretty easy, right? Just remember not to confuse this one with this rule, this ending rule. This 하다 is an exception. 하다 is an exception to this rule. This rule doesn't apply to 하다. It has its own conjugation rule where you change 하 to 해. 하 to 해. So with this in mind, guys, let's try filling in the blank. So how would you say, 잠깐만요, let me cover the answer. Okay. So 도서관, library에서, at a library, I study. How would you fill in the blank with the verb study? For your reference, guys, 공부하다, just in case you forgot, 공부하다 is to study. So how would you complete the sentence? 도서관에서. 타노스님, does not mean me? Yes, not in 반말, in casual speech. 그렇죠, 여러분. 공부해요. 좋아요. 공부해요. 도서관에서 공부해요. I study at the library. How about 여러분? 헬스장, gym, literally health place. So it's a gym. It's a loan word, but or more of a Konglish word. But 헬스장에서, at a gym, work out. How would you use the verb work out in this sentence? Present tense. Work out is 운동하다, 여러분. 운동하다. 그렇죠. 운동해요. 그 다음에 let's do one more. 한국 사람, Korea people. So Korean people를 like. How would you use the verb like in this sentence? 좋아하다 means to like. So how would you say, I like Korean people? 한국 사람들을 you would say 좋아해요. 그렇죠. 좋아해요. That's how you would say. That's how you would use 하다 ending verbs. That's how you would conjugate them. And as for irregular conjugation rules, guys, we're not going to cover this today. Maybe another time, or maybe you could check the video that I have on irregular conjugation rules alone. But not for today, guys, because I don't want to confuse you guys too much. And we have more tenses to learn, including past and future. So guys, actually, present tense, past tense. Okay, so once you understand how the present tense is conjugated, the past tense become very simple and straightforward. It just follows a consistent rule of adding the final consonant, 쌍시옷, and 어. For example, 여러분, 살다 means to live, and 살다's present tense is 살아, right? Past tense, you simply add 쌍시옷 받침, double 시옷 받침, and then So it becomes 살았어. 살았어. 먹다 is conjugated to 먹어 in present tense, right? It means to eat. And in past tense, you simply add 쌍시옷 받침 and So it becomes 먹었어. Actually, let's fill out the meaning of the first verb as well. So live, lived, eat, ate. And 웃다 means to laugh or smile. So 웃어 would be the present tense conjugation. And past tense would be 웃었어. So guys, in spoken form, guys, just hear me out. 살았어. 먹었어. 웃었어. In spoken form, guys, so if it's spelled, of course, it's the correct spelling is this one. If it's spoken, you simply add saw, right? Saw to the present tense to make it a past tense. So 살았어, 먹었어, 웃었어 would mean lived, ate, smiled, laughed, right? So it's very, very simple. Both in spoken or written, it's very simple. You just add saw to the present tense. And 가 is conjugated to 가, just them alone. And likewise, past tense is 갔어. 오다 becomes 와, come. And past tense, 왔어, 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 right? 하다, we learned that this one has its own rule where we just replace ha with he, right? All 하다 ending verbs are conjugated to he. So he means do, and in past tense, it's 했어, 했어. Very simple, right? Very simple. So 여러분, let's actually try making some of the sentences from scratch on our own with past tense, 여러분. Past tense. So we will start with, maybe let's do like 8 sentences. So first one, let's do, so don't worry if you forgot some of the words, I will put up the list here so you can use it as a reference. So how would you say, 여러분, how would you say, Dad, number 1, Dad closed the door. How would you say, Dad closed the door? Let me give you guys the word hint. Door is 문. And dad, I'm pretty sure you guys remember dad. And for particles, guys, I would like you guys to use 이가 for a subject, 이가, and 을을 for object. When we're actually practicing making sentences, it's very helpful to use the particles, use the subject and object topping markers instead of omitting them. If it's spoken, then it's fine. But when we're actually practicing, like this is a class setting, right? A classroom setting, it would be very helpful to include these particles. So I would like you to say, Dad closed the door. Dad closed the door. 닫다. 닫다 is to close. 그렇죠, 여러분. 그렇죠. 아빠가 좋아요. 아빠 is the subject. 아빠가 door. 문 is the object, so 문을, and then comes the predicate part. This is conjugated in past tense. This has to be conjugated in past tense because you're talking about what happened in the past. So 닫다 is conjugated to 닫. Since it has a vowel, we have to add a, and since it's past tense, we have to add 써. 아빠가 문을 닫았어. And finally, the 존댓말 sentence ending, right? 다음에, let's try another one. How would you say, I met a friend? 여러분, this time as well, make sure to use the particles 이가 and 을을, guys. 이가 and 을을. So how would you say, I met a friend. I met a friend. 만나다 is to meet. 만나다, to meet. So how would you say, I met a friend. I met a friend. 그렇죠. By using 이가, 여러분, do you guys remember when 저 is combined with the subject marker 가, it changes to 제가. We don't say 저가 unless it's in a certain dialect or unless it's that, we use 제가. 제가 is the standard form. 제가 is the subject. Friend is the object, the target. So 친구를 met. 만나, conjugation is 만나, just them alone. And then you have to conjugate it. You have to add the past tense form, which is 써. 만났어. And then if you want to say this in 존댓말, 만났어요. 제가 친구를 만났어요. One more element, guys. How would you say, I met a friend yesterday. So 여러분, my goal is not to confuse you guys, but I feel like at this point it might be helpful for you guys to, practice adding one more element, which is the adverb, guys. Adverb. 여러분, adverb is simply something that adds more details. That could be time information, place information, or it could also be how the action is done, how the action is done or how often the action is done. So adverbs are elements that add more details to the sentence. And adverbs, the placement of adverbs, grammatically speaking, if adverbs are placed anywhere that is in front, anywhere before a verb, it's grammatically correct. But for the most common placement, guys, when it comes to time adverb, so yesterday is time adverb, right? You're adding more details on the time. When it comes to that, the most common placement is either at the very front of the sentence or right before the subject. So you can say 어제 제가 친구를 만났어요. or 제가 어제 친구를 만났어요. 이런 식으로. But if you want to, if a certain adverb that you're adding is about adding more details to the action itself, not the entire sentence, but the action itself, like how often you meet a friend, how you met a friend, things like that, then if it directly modifies the verb, then it's most common to be placed right before a verb. But grammatically speaking, if it's placed anywhere before a verb, it's fine. But that's the most common and the most natural sounding, sentence, word order, adverb placement for native speakers. But just wanted to mention this because in a lot of the example sentences that we practice with, you have seen a lot of adverbs being used, right? So I thought this is the right time for me to kind of mention that. So that's how adverbs are placed in a sentence. And with that, let's move on to the third sentence. I studied Korean, let's say joyfully. I studied Korean joyfully. So I'm pretty sure you know how the word order works for here. And for here as well, this is an adverb that directly adds information on how the action of studying was done. So based on what I explained just now about adverb placement, I would like you guys to form this sentence. And to give you guys the word hint on joyfully, you can use 즐겁게. So study, guys. Study is 공부하다. 공부하다 means to study. 공부하다. So how would you say, I studied Korean joyfully. I studied Korean joyfully. This time, use the particles 은는 and 을을, guys. 을을, this time. Let's use the particles 은는 and 을을. So, 그렇죠, 여러분. 저는 using the topic marker 은는, 저는 subject or topic comes first. Korean comes next. 한국어를. So just for these three elements, we would say 저는 한국어를 공부하다 is conjugated to 공부해, and then you add the past tense 했어, right? 한국어를 공부했어요. But to add the adverb, one more element, joyfully, this describes specifically how the action was done. So it's most natural to come right before the verb. So 저는 한국어를 즐겁게 공부했어요 would be the natural way to say I studied Korean joyfully. 그다음에 let's do one more, 여러분. Let's do one more. I drank coffee fast. Fast. So I'll give you guys the word hint. Fast is 빨리. And this time, let's use 이가 particle and 을을 particle. 이가 particle and 은는 particle. And as for drink, guys, drink is 마시다, 여러분. 마시다. Note that it's a E ending verb, right? E ending. So how would you how would you say this sentence in Korean? I drank coffee fast. I drank coffee fast. Fast is once again an adverb that adds information on how the action was done. 그렇죠? So it would be most natural to be placed right before the verb, right before. 그렇죠, 여러분? Subject first. 제가 and then 커피를 and then you would first add how it's done, adverb first, and then the last element would be the predicate. So 마시다 conjugated would be 마셔, and it's past tense. So you have to add that past tense syllable, past tense element. So 마셨어요. 제가 커피를 빨리 마셨어요 would be how you say I drank coffee fast. Okay, so we just practiced how to use past tense conjugations in a sentence, in an actual sentence. 잠시만요. So 과거 시제 문장 만들기. I think now we can move on to the future tense, 여러분. With that, 여러분. Shall we move on to future tense now, or shall we do more practice and then move on? I feel like it's already been an hour, so I guess I don't want us to, I don't want it to like run out of time. So let's just quickly move on to future tense. Future tense, 여러분. Future tense. Okay. So future tense, 여러분. Future tense는요. One thing you have to kind of keep in mind about future tense is that you first take the stem. And if the stem ends with a vowel, then you add li을, the final consonant li을, and then add 거예요. So guys, for future tense, there's actually a different form that's used. So it's 거야 in 반말, and it's not 거야요, it's 거예요 in 존댓말. So as for this difference, we will learn this in more detail when we get to the 이다 verb part. But for now, for today's class, we're only going to focus on 존댓말. Okay, guys, 존댓말. So for future tense conjugation, you take the stem that ends with a vowel and then add li을 and then 거예요. For example, guys, 가다 ends with a vowel, right? 가다 ends with a vowel. And so you can first take the stem. Stem is 가, right? And then you add the final consonant li을 to the stem, li을. 갈, right? And then the rest. 거예요. 갈 거예요. So, 가다 is conjugated to 갈 거예요 in future tense. And let's do 기다리다. 잠깐만요. Actually, they're all pretty much the same. 배우다. Let's do 배우다, 여러분. 배우다. How would you conjugate this in future tense, 여러분? Remember, I'll write it down here once again. Future tense is stem. So first of all, if the stem ends with a vowel, right? Vowel. Then you add li을 and 거. 잠깐만요. li을 and 거예요 has to be space. So 거예요. It's li을 거예요, right? So 배우다, 여러분. How would you conjugate 배우다 in future tense? How would you conjugate 배우다 in future tense, guys? What is 배우다 stem? What is 배우다 stem, 여러분? 배우다 stem is 배우, right? 배우. And then you add the final consonant 울. And then add the rest of the syllables 거예요. 을 거예요. 배울 거예요. So 배울 거예요 means will learn. So 배울 거예요. 배울 거예요. 그 다음에 as for the stem that ends with a consonant, a final consonant, then we cannot add the final consonant because the final consonant part is already filled, right? You would add the extra syllable, 을, and then 거예요. So it's either 리을 거예요 or 을 거예요. 을 거예요. 그러면 여러분, how would you conjugate? 받다 means to receive, guys. 받다. How would you conjugate this in future tense? So I see a lot of questions regarding my books. Thank you so much for your interest. I will explain everything at the end of the class, 여러분. I'm so sorry about it. But let's focus on the class for now. This book is available, this main book, but not yet my workbook, at least on Amazon. But I'll explain everything, okay? Let's just focus on the class. So so 받다. Oh wait, it automatically zoomed out. I want you to zoom in again. Okay, you're almost there. Okay, I guess this is enough. All right, so 받다 ends with a final consonant. So in this case, how you can conjugate them in future tense is by adding. You know what? Let me write it here. Stem, if a stem ends with a consonant, right? Final consonant, then you add 을 instead of 리을, 을 거예요. So, 받다, as for the verb 받다, it's stem, 받, right? So, how you can say will receive is stem 을 거예요. 받을 거예요. 받을 거예요. Will receive. So, usually, present tense conjugation is represented like this. Stem plus 리을 을 거예요. This is how you can conjugate a verb into future tense. And please note, guys, please keep in mind that it's stem plus 을 거예요. So a lot of learners make the mistake of adding 을 거예요 to the present tense form and then add 리을 을 거예요. But this is actually wrong. So for example, I will learn is 배울 거예요, not 배울 거예요. 배울 거예요 is not correct, guys. 배울 거예요 is not correct. Because when it comes to future tense conjugation, it's stem plus 리을 을. So this would be one of the most trickiest part for beginners when they're learning Korean grammar. Some expressions require you to conjugate it to use the present tense form, and some expressions will require you to use the stem and then attach the suffix, the following suffix. So whether it's a present tense form or stem, you have to there's need to be some. You have to. This is just for a heads up that it could be tricky, but you also have to be mindful of this. Okay. So for future tense, it's 리을 거예요 or 을 거예요, 여러분. 을 거예요. 그러면 여러분, let's do a bit more practice with our main book. All right. Let's do a bit more practice. So we're going to practice conjugating a verb in future tense in 존댓말. So how would you say, 여러분? How would you say will close? I will close. I will close. 키스님, 선생님의 camera trying to be a PD. Yeah, 맞아요. I'm not sure if it's doing a good job, but all right. 사쿠라님, 모르다. 모르다 is one of the 모르다 has the irregular conjugation rules. But as for the entire irregular rules, I will explain it another time, okay? So, 그렇죠. 닫다 ends with a consonant. So it would be 닫을 거예요. 닫을 거예요. 닫을 거예요. 닫을 거예요. 좋아요. How about 먹다, 여러분. 먹다. How would you conjugate it in 존댓말 and say will eat? Is it 먹을 거예요 or 먹을 거예요? 여러분, which one is correct? Is it 먹을 거예요 or 먹을 거예요? Which one? 그렇죠. It's stem plus 을 거예요. So 먹을 거예요 is incorrect. 먹을 거예요. in 존댓말 먹을 거예요. 그 다음에 how about 읽다, which means to read. Which means to read. How would you say I will read? I will read in future tense. I will read. Just remember this rule. Once again, just to remind you, stem plus 리을을 거예요, right? Stem plus 리을을 거예요. So, 읽을 거예요. 좋아요. 읽을 거예요. Alright. 다음에 how about 만나다? How would you say I will meet? I will meet. I will meet. I will meet. 만나다 ends with a vowel. So stem plus 리을 받침. Sorry, my handwriting is terrible, but I'm pretty sure you guys can understand what I wrote. But let's just write it more clearly. 만날 거예요. 만날 거예요. Will meet. Will meet. How about I will sleep? I will sleep. 자다. I will sleep. Stem plus 자 ends with a vowel. So stem plus 리을 and then 거예요. 잘 거예요. 잘 거예요. 그 다음에 how about I will see? I will watch. I will watch. I will watch. 보다 ends with a vowel. So stem plus 리을 거예요. 볼 거예요. Will watch, right? Will watch. 그러면 여러분, how would you say I will watch a movie? I will watch a movie. How would you say I will watch a movie, 여러분? I will watch a movie. How would you form this sentence in Korean using 은는 and 을을 particles? I will watch a movie. How would you say this? You would say 저는 영화 is the target, is the object. So 영화를 and then the predicate part conjugated in future tense, which is 볼 거예요. 저는 영화를 볼 거예요. 여러분, then how about today? You want to add the adverb today, which is 오늘. Do you guys remember which part is the most natural for the time adverb to be placed? Time adverb. 그렇죠. At the front part. So you can either put it at the very front or more commonly right after the subject or topic. So 저는 오늘 영화를 볼 거예요. So time information are usually placed at the front part as much as possible. So 저는 오늘 영화를 볼 거예요. 좋아요. 그 다음에 how would you say I will drink? I will drink. Once again, it ends with a vowel. So it's stem plus 리을 plus 거예요. 마실 거예요. 마실 거예요. 그 다음에 how about I will work out? I will exercise. I will exercise. 운동하 ends with a consonant, right? So 운동할 거예요. Since it's stem plus 리을 거예요, it's not 운동할 거예요. not 운동할 거예요. 운동할 거예요. So 여러분, we learn all the present, past, and future. And it's only natural that it doesn't, stick with you right away. Like you are comfortable with using it right away. So let's do a bit more practice. Let's do a bit more practice with some of the verbs. And then we're gonna move on to like some of the exercises in my workbook. Okay, guys? Okay, so let's start from 가다. First one, 가다. How do you conjugate them in present, past, and future respectively? So future, we did them already. So how would you conjugate 가다 in present and past? 가다 is an ah ending, right? Ah ending stem. So in present tense, we just use the present, we just use the stem. And if you want to write it in 존댓말, so for this class, let's just focus on 존댓말 instead of 반말, okay? 가요. All right, how about 그렇죠? Past tense would be 가. First, you take the present tense and then add 써. 갔어요. 좋아요. How about 잠시만요, 여러분. Do we do all of them? Actually, yeah, let's do some of them, not all of them. But 잠시만요, 여러분. 잠시만요, 여러분. I feel like it would be a little inefficient to do everything. So, okay, so let's do 가르치다. I feel like we could. 잠깐만요, 여러분. Please give me a sec, a minute. So I will. 잠시만요. Let's only do the parts that are related to the exercise that we're gonna do afterward, because that way it's better for the consolidation of these vocabulary. And so 잠시만요. Let's take a 1 minute break, guys. Let's take 1 minute break. 잠시만요. Okay. Let's do okay, this one. And then 가다, we did this. 가르치다, we did this. Okay, and then 공부. Okay. 그 다음에 일하다. Okay. 봤다 어딨지? Okay. Okay, let's do this much. Guys. So, next one. Thank you for waiting, guys. Thank you for waiting. All right, let's move on to our next verb to practice conjugations with. 가르치다, to teach. How would you conjugate it in present, past, and future? Present, past, and future. What's wrong? 여러분, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Is it back on? Okay. Hi guys, I'm back on. Can you guys see it now? Can you guys hear me okay? See the screen okay? All right, I'm sorry. There was a bit of an internet connection problem. Not sure why that happened, but it's back on now. I'm so sorry about it, guys, but yes, it's back on. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. Not sure why. I didn't really touch anything. Maybe it's the camera. It's like kind of like overloaded. I don't know. Hopefully this doesn't happen, but let's see how it goes, guys. A little anxious, but let's see how it goes. 그렇죠. In past tense, it's 가르쳤어요. 가르쳤어요. And in future tense, it's stem plus li을을 거예요, right? Stem plus li을을 거예요. So, it would be 가르치다, 가르치 plus 리을 거예요. 가르칠 거해요. Oh, Jeff White님, you work too hard. I actually have like one more exercise that I wanted to do with you guys, which is like the dictation part. And hopefully we can make it to that part. Hopefully it doesn't lag or hopefully it doesn't cause connection issues. But let's just continue, guys. How about 공부하다? 공부하다. How would you conjugate it in present, past, and future? 공부하다. How would you conjugate it in present, past, future? 공부, 하다 ending verbs. All 하다 ending verbs are conjugated to 해, right? So 공부해, 공부해요, 공부해요. 그 다음에 for past tense, you simply add 써, right? 공부했어, 써. 공부했어요. And for future tense, 여러분, future tense. How about future tense? 그렇죠. It's stem plus 리을 거예요. Right? stem plus 리을 거예요. 공부할 거예요. 그 다음에 여러분, let's move on to 닫다, to close. How would you conjugate them in each tense? First one, present tense. 닫다 ends with a vowel, right? So you would add a to the stem. 닫아요, 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 닫아요. 그 다음에 as for the past tense, 닫았어요, 닫았어요, past tense plus 써요. Present tense plus 써요, 닫았어요. And as for the future tense, stem plus 을 거예요. This time we cannot add 리을 because there is no place for an extra final consonant to fit. So we have to add an extra syllable, which is 을, 닫을 거예요. 닫을 거예요. 그 다음에 how about 먹다? 여러분, how would you conjugate 먹다 in present, past, future? So 먹다. Eat, ate, will eat. Miss Vicky, thank you, Kis님. Thank you. Yes, 여러분. I will mention the books at the end. For now, let's focus on the class. But I appreciate everyone's interest in the book. Really, I really do. 아무튼 이제 먹다, since it ends with since it has the vowel, we would add 맞죠? 먹어요. And for the past tense, it would be 먹었어요. 먹었어요. 그렇죠. 먹어요. 먹었어요. And for the future tense, stem plus, this time as well, we cannot add 리을 받침. It should be another syllable. 을 거예요. How about 받다, 여러분? 받다. To receive, to get. How would you conjugate it in present, past, and future? Present, past, and future. 받다. Notice that 받 ends with, 받 has the a vowel in the last part of the stem. So we add this time, right? 받아요, 받아요. And then the past tense would be adding 써요, right? So 받았어요, 받았어요, 받았어요. 그리고 how about the future tense, 여러분? stem plus 을 거예요. 을 거예요. So 받아요, receive, 받았어요, received, 받을 거예요, will receive. 그렇게 되고, and let's do 1, 2, 3 more. 3 more. 빌리다 means to borrow. 빌리다, to borrow something. So 빌리다 ends with E vowel. So how would you conjugate it in present, past, and future? How would you say borrow, borrowed, will borrow? E vowel, so we add but then it also has to be compounded. 빌려, right? 빌려. 그렇죠? So 빌려 and then we add the sentence ending 요. And how about the past tense? We simply add 써요 to the present tense. So 빌려, 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 써요. 빌렸어요, 빌렸어요. Please don't do this. Please zoom it back in. Oof. My camera. Anyways, so how about the future tense, 여러분? Future tense. 그렇죠. stem plus the 빌리 ends with a vowel, so you would add the consonant. 그렇죠. Final consonant 리을, and then 거예요. 빌릴 거예요. will borrow. 빌릴 거예요. 그 다음에 next one. 앉다. 앉다 means to sit down. How would you say sit, sat, will sit in Korean? Sit, sat, will sit. 여러분, this is not the most ideal zoom in state, but okay. So 앉다. Okay, it's going in. All right, perfect. This is actually perfect. Please stay this way, my camera. Anyway, so 앉다 has a vowel, so we would add a to conjugate it in present tense. So 앉자, right? 앉아요. And then the past tense would be 그렇죠. 앉았어요, right? 앉았어, and then the sentence ending 요. And for future tense, it's stem plus, since it ends with a consonant, we cannot add 리을, 받침. We have to add a whole another syllable, which is 을. 앉을 거예요. Will sit. 앉을 거예요. 앉을 거예요. 좋아요. 앉을 거예요. 그 다음에 as for 일하다, our last verb, guys, how would you say work, worked, will work in Korean? Work, worked, will work. Remember, this is the 하다 ending form. So do you guys remember how 하다 ending verbs are conjugated in present tense? All of them. 하 gets replaced to 해. 하 changes to 해. 그렇죠. So it's 일, 해, and then the sentence ending 요. And for past tense, 일, 했어. 일했어. 요. 일했어요. And how about the future tense? Future tense, first you take the stem, and then the consonant part is empty, so we can add the 리을 consonant, and then 거예요. 일할 거예요. Will work. So that's how you can say work, worked, will work. Okay, so with this in mind, 여러분, let's do a listening practice, 여러분. So even if you don't understand like the other elements in a sentence, just focus on verb. Just focus on verb, guys, and try to maybe infer the meaning. Just guess the meaning based on context. You don't have to understand every single element right now to try to guess, right? We can always guess. So we're gonna do from 2 to 10. 네, we're gonna do dictation practice from 2 to 10. All right, so let me play the audio for you guys. Audio. Hopefully audio doesn't create any issue, but let me try, guys. So we're gonna start from number 2. Okay. Oh, okay. So number 2 starts. So we're going to start with number 2, guys. Number 2, we're going to do the dictation and then write the meaning of the full sentence in English. But for you guys to do that, you would also have to know the word. So let me write out the word for you guys. 창문 is window. Actually, in the workbook, I'll explain about the vocabulary QR code later. But for now, I'll just write it on top of the word, what a certain word means. So let's listen to number 2. It hasn't started yet. So let's go.
창문을 닫아.
One more.
2.
창문을 닫아.
What did the man say? Did you guys catch the verb part?
2.
창문을 닫아.
So E means number 2, guys. 맞아요. 창문을 닫아라고 했어요. 닫아. 창문을 닫아. So it sounded like 닫아, right? Because of the consonant assimilation rule. But what he actually said was 닫아. 창문을 닫아. 그렇죠. This man is telling someone in 반말, in casual form, close the window. 좋아요. 그 다음에 여기 means here, 여러분. 여기 means here. So let's move on to the next one, guys. Next one. Number 3, 3.
3. 여기에 앉아.
One more time.
여기에
문을
3. 여기에 앉아. 3. 여기에 앉아.
그렇죠. 여기에 앉아라고 했어요. 맞아요. So how it was pronounced was 앉아, right? Because of the consonant assimilation. But the correct spelling, where's my razor? 치우게. 앉아라고 했어요. So it's also in 반말 because it's without the you ending. She's telling someone to sit here. Sit on here. Sit here. 여기에 앉아. 그다음에 we're going to move on to number 4, guys. 저녁 means dinner. 저녁 means dinner. So what does the man or the woman says? Let's try. Is listening.
4.
저녁을 먹었어요.
One more time, guys. One more time.
저녁을 먹었어요.
One more time.
4.
저녁을 먹었어요.
What did he say, 여러분? What did he say? 저녁을. What did he say exactly? 그렇죠. 먹었어요라고 했어요. 먹었어요. And from the 써요 part, we know that this is in past tense. So, 저녁을 먹었어요? Since this is a question, this person is asking, have you eaten dinner? Did you eat dinner, right? Did you eat dinner or have you eaten dinner? Did you have dinner? Okay. 그 다음에 5번, the next one. Let's move on to the next one. 헬스장 literally means health place. It's a Konglish word that means gym. So 헬스장에
5. 헬스장에 갈 거예요.
One more time.
헬스장에 갈 거예요.
One more time.
5. 헬스장에 갈 거예요.
뭐라고 했어요? 헬스장에 그렇죠. 갈 거예요 라고 했어요. 갈 거예요. This call almost sounds like go, right? This tends to happen when it's combined with the real vowel, real consonant. Like this is completely irregular pronunciation rules. So this is something that you don't have to like stress too much about. You will get used to it through exposure. This is not something that you learn about through textbook. But anyways, 갈 거예요 or 갈 거예요. I will go to the gym, right? I will go to the gym. This is not a question, so it's a statement. I will go to the gym is what the woman said. 그 다음에 next one, guys. So 학생들 means student. And 영어 means English, 여러분. 영어 means English. So let's listen. Take a listen.
6.
저는 학생들에게 영어를 가르쳐요.
One more time.
저는 학생들에게 영어를 가르쳐요.
One last
6.
time.
저는 학생들에게 영어를 가르쳐요.
What did the man say? 그렇죠. 맞아요. 가르쳐요라고 했어요. So what does it mean, guys? 저는 what do you think it means? Even if you don't know like some of the grammatical elements, this is a new particle for you guys, 에게, which actually means to. We'll learn more about this particle later on, but this means 그렇죠. I teach English to students. 저는 학생들에게 영어를 가르쳐요. If you got the 가르쳐 part, that's more than enough for now, guys. That's more than enough. And let's move on to number 7. 도서관 means library and 책 means book. So how would you say? Sorry, not how would you say. So let's listen. It's my habit, guys. How would you say blah blah blah. But anyways, let's have a listen to number 7.
7. 도서관에서 책을 빌렸어요. 8.
아이고, no, not
저녁에
7. Once again, 7.
8.
No, 7. Once again, 7.
책을 빌렸어요. 7. 도서관에서 책을 빌렸어요.
What did the woman say? In the verb part. 빌렸어요. 그렇죠. 빌렸어요. 여러분, do you guys remember? 빌리다, it meant to borrow. So, 도서관에서, in the library, 책, book, 빌렸어요, borrowed. So, if you guys say 빌었어요, I see a couple of 빌었어요, 여러분, 빌었어요. It probably sounds a bit similar. 근데 빌었어요 obviously comes from the base form 빌다, which means to beg. So it's like saying you beg for a book in the library. So that would mean something totally different, right? So it's 빌리다, 여러분. 빌리다. 빌다 also means to wish for something. Like you pray to God for something. 빌다. But it also means to beg. 그 다음에 number 8. 여러분, we learned that 저녁 means dinner. 저녁 in this context means evening. So 저녁에, so let's move on to number 8, guys. 8.
8.
저녁에 집에서 한국어를 공부할 거야.
One more time.
8.
저녁에 집에서 한국어를 공부할 거야. 집에서 한국어를 공부할 거야.
What did you guys hear?
8.
저녁에 집에서 한국어를 공부할 거야.
그렇죠, 여러분. So in this audio, guys, the man used 반말 future tense form that we did cover briefly, but we didn't get to practice a lot. But if you were to say this in 존댓말, it would be 거예요, right? So in the audio, the man indeed said 거야 in 반말, but since today we're focusing on 존댓말, you can also say 공부할 거예요. So it would mean in the evening, 집에서 at home, 한국어, Korean 공부할 거예요. I will study Korean. I will study Korean. 그리고 여러분, 회사 means actually 선물을 Okay, you know what? Let's move on to number 10. Let's skip number 9 and move on to number 10. 여러분, number 10. So 친구 means a friend. And 친구한테 altogether means from a friend. 생일, birthday, 선물, present. So it's birthday present, blank. So let's listen. Let's take a listen to what the woman or man says in number 10.
저는 회사에서 10.
친구한테 생일 선물을 받았어요. 친구한테 생일 선물을 받았어요.
10.
친구한테 생일 선물을 받았어요.
What did he say? 맞아요. 받았어요. So what he said sounded like 받았어요, right? Because of the consonant assimilation. But the correct pronunciation, the correct spelling would be 받았어요, which means, what does it mean? So altogether, from a friend, birthday present, I received. And actually, guys, let's finish it out with number 9. I think it's better to do number 9 as well. This would be our last exercise, last dictation exercise. So number 9.
10.
9.
일한 회사에서 일해요. 9. 저는 회사에서 일해요.
What did the woman say? Let's listen one more time.
9. 저는 회사에서 일해요.
그렇죠. 일해요. So since this is a workbook for beginner learners, the voice actress enunciated the pronunciation, but in real life it sounds more like 일해요. Rather than 일해요. But both are fine. So just note that you will also often hear 일해요. But 일해요 is the correct, most enunciated pronunciation. So 저는 회사에서 일해요 would mean I work in a company. So you work for a company. You're an office worker, right? So 저는 회사에서 일해요. Okay, so that's everything I prepared for today's class, guys. And since I have gotten... 잠시만요. Actually, you know what? I forgot to turn on the light of the room. I only had my stand light on. Was it too dark for you guys? Was the screen too dark for you? Ooh, I hope not. But you were able to read the text and everything, right? I hope it wasn't too dark. I just realized it wasn't on. The light of my room wasn't on. But it was fine. Okay. Thank God. And as for my books, guys, actually, let me have all my books displayed here. So this is palette 1. This is palette 2. Let me close my window. Okay. This is 1 and 2. And this is... all right. So since the camera cannot capture everything, I'm just going to take it out. So these are my 4 grammar books, guys. So for Korean grammar palette for beginners 1 and 2, they are a combination of grammar explanation and also some of the exercises. And of course, 1 starts from the very beginning, and then 2 picks up from where 1 left off. So these 2 are the complete palette series, and then these 2 are the recently published workbook, guys. Recently published workbooks, and All of them are available. Actually, these are, so this is the workbook, the companion workbook to my main books, to my grammar main books. And of course, since this is a workbook, this is more focused on the exercises. But you will also find, some of the explanations so that you could review what you learn in the main books or kind of complement what might be lacking in the first book, in the main book. But most of them are exercises. And these two are already available on Amazon. So it's been a while since these books were published, but since they are the new release, it would take some time for them to be available internationally. But the ebook version will be available sooner than the paperbacks on Amazon. So I will keep you guys updated, guys. So if you live in Korea, you can get all these 4 books in Korean bookstores. But if you live, if you're an international reader, then you would have to wait. But like I said, guys, I will keep you guys updated. And I'm also planning to make a video where I show you guys the inside of all 4 books and the most effective ways you can use these books together. So I'll make sure to do that, guys. And I really, really appreciate you guys' interest in my books. I really, really do. And I'll try to share some of the, behind the scenes personal stories when it comes to writing these books. I hope you would stay tuned for that. And 잠시만요. Let me guys read your comments. Which bookstore in Seoul? Oh, Kyobo, Yongpung, Aladdin, or even I'm not sure if it's on Coupang yet, but it will in the end. Like ultimately, it will be available in like all the online and offline bookstores. But right now, it is for certain on Kyobo. I checked earlier, but Yongpung, the last time I checked it was on Friday, and it wasn't there on Yongpung yet. But it will. It will be in stock soon. And is there international delivery on Amazon? Yes, of course. That's what Amazon is for. The publisher ships the book to Amazon so that it's available to readers all over the world. But since it's going to have to go through the export process, it takes both time and money, and so it's gonna have to wait a while. But I will keep you guys updated. Oh, you're going there at the end of this month. Then you'll be able to have it. You'll be able to pick up this book. 그다음에, can you do short shadowing in Korean? I'll try to. I'll put that on my list. Usually get books from Kyobo. And Kyobo does offer international shipping as well. I'm not sure about the cost of the delivery fee internationally, but they do have, they do offer international shipping. So if you like to get the books early, then you could always use Kyobo international shipping. 그리고 it's on Coupang. Oh, okay, that's fast. Wow, the publisher very fast on that. So if it's like in Korea, inside Korea, it takes less time, of course, but the export process is what takes, the most time, and it's quite complicated and everything, but hopefully it gets there soon. And oh, you got my first book. Oh, you mean The Absolute Beginner, I think? Thank you so much for using my books, 여러분. Thank you so much. Oh, you're going through palette too? Oh, okay. So Shelanim has this book. Oh, okay. Wow, I put a lot of heart and soul into this book. I really hope you enjoy it. I really, really do. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I have a Korean warehouse, so I'll get it on Kyobo. It's available on Kyobo for sure. So, but I'll share more details, like the look inside and how you can use these books and everything in a separate video, a separate edited video. So I hope you would look forward to that. And thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you got to learn a lot about verbs, Korean verbs, and had quite clear understanding of how it works. And you just finished Palette 1 book. Congratulations. congratulations. You just finished this book, right? Oh, it's quite, there's a lot of content, so it must have taken quite a lot of effort and time, but congratulations on finishing it. 수고 많으셨어요. Jeff Whiten, you just bought all 4 and coupon. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it. I really hope you enjoy it, and I'll try to make, the video explaining like how you can use these books and showing you inside the book. I'll try to make it as soon as possible. I'm not sure when exactly, but I'm excited to show it to you guys. All right. Very clear. Do you always stream at fixed time? I try to go live every Sunday, 1 p.m., but sometimes, things happen, right? So it's hard to stick to that schedule like every single week, but usually I go live on Sunday, 1 p.m. Usually I do. 그리고 good preview of the basic. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, 선생님. 키스님도 남은 주말 잘 보내세요. 남은 주말 잘 보내시고요. Okay, 여러분. So I will wrap up the class here. 여기서 수업을 끝낼게요. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you guys around my channel, my videos, my live classes. And 여러분 모두 화이팅! 여러분 모두 화이팅! And thank you so much. Thank you. 이제 끌게요. I'll click on the finish button. 감사합니다.